There it is.
So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. And today I'm joined by Houda. She's the bass player for the band Melted Bodies. And Melted Bodies is a band that started a few years ago. In 2020, they put out an album called Enjoy Yourself. And they've been putting out a few EPs that are going to make this new album, The Inevitable Fork, which is going to come out the 18th of October. So first of all, how are you today?
Doing well. It's a Friday afternoon here in Los Angeles. We as a band went on a Halloween haunt last night, so we're a bit tired. It's we take Halloween season very seriously.
Yes, I bet. What did you do?
We went to this amusement park called Not Scary Farm, and it just has like roller coasters and like mazes where like jump
Not
scare.
very fun.
Not yeah. So at night for Halloween, they're open at night, and it's called Not Scary Farm, and it's a
Not
lot of fun.
scary farm.
Oh, it's they do a very good job. So we just did a family field trip there last night, and it was so much fun.
Oh, I went to that park when I was a child. Uh,
Yes,
so many years ago that I can't remember it, but I remember it because I remember you could pick like gold, and yeah,
yes, yeah. They still have it. Wasn't on last night, but they do still offer that up.
so it's good that that park still exists. I have
Oh yeah.
vague memories of going sometime in the late 80s or early 90s when I went
Hmm.
to California with my parents. So we're like I remember Knott's Berry Farm, but I haven't been to their Halloween. I've been to the Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando twice.
Yeah,
There,
we've done
yeah.
the one here in Hollywood, the Universal Studios Hollywood, and gotta say, not Scary Farm is above that for us for sure. They do a very good
Yeah,
job. Yeah.
I never. So what does how do they make it better than the Universal one?
The mazes, I always say like Universal Studios has all like the characters, the IP of like the big name characters, and that's nice and all, but the mazes and scares are very like it's loud, it's flashy, and then someone's gonna jump in. Like you just kind of get the routine of it. While not Scary Farm, because they have to make everything from scratch, it's really like the fabrication and the monsters and the production is so much more over the top, and you have like a storyline that goes through it. And every little like nook and cranny is like decorated with Halloween stuff. It's just a lot more fun. It's like it's really they
Yeah,
take a lot of pride in their mazes. So
yeah, no, I know my brother who lives in Florida. He says that the Busch Gardens do a really cool one as well.
oh, fun.
Uh, yeah, the one that I wouldn't go would be the Disney one.
No, I mean those it's for children. It's not for like adults who like
No, I
Halloween
don't
and
know.
horror.
I don't know about you, but I used to love Disney as a kid, but I've gotten to hate Disney
Interesting.
as an
Well,
adult. Maybe it's because they're fucking up all of my childhood stuff that I liked.
yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
they
That is
took
definitely
Star
fun.
Wars, shit on it. They took Indiana Jones, they shat on it. So I'm like over Disney.
Yeah, I mean, well, they took Marvel and shat on it. I'm like, oh,
Anything they get
yeah.
a hands on. Uh, who knows? Maybe they take on DC and they make it better.
We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, they're like, no, they're shitting on themselves already,
They
like
really are. Some,
yeah,
yeah, even some
yeah.
Pixar
Oh,
movies are like that wasn't good.
we have Ben joining, so it's a good. We
Oh
have
yes,
yeah, good. So it's good. First
perfect.
started, but he can
Yeah.
chime in.
Hey Ben.
Hi Ben, how are you?
What's up? So sorry I'm late.
No,
I'm
no worries,
late
no worries.
literally
Good for
everything
you
all the time.
chiming.
My bad.
We were just talking about to fill you in. We were talking about like you guys yesterday went to the Knott's Berry Farm, like
Oh,
scary Halloween, and we're talking about like which ones are better. And we were just talking about how Disney shits on everything.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
to catch you in. So Ben,
Perfect.
what do you do in the band?
I do keys, synth, and kind of everything that's not a traditional sound from a instrument that is hit or strung. That's kind of the
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
cool. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the band. When they sent me this promo, I saw the comparison. Like, if you like Mr. Bongo, System
Yeah.
of a Down, and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And Devo, I'm like Devo. So it was a lot of like different. I'm like, this sounds interesting, and and it had the word avant-garde, which sometimes I think they just throw that shit on to something like
Yeah,
if you
sure.
can't say what it is, oh, it's just avant-garde, like like.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys, when I was listening to you, this is how I would describe the band. It sounds like an alternative industrial metal meets thrash metal because there's the song Bloodlines. Your lead singer sounded like he channeled Surge from System of a Down. But the whole people would be saying like, oh, maybe it's a ripoff and everything sounds like that. I'm like, no, this album, another artist that I think of like with your experimentation, I thought of Frank Zappa.
Mm.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I love Frank Zappa. I actually went through a huge Hot Rats like phase this year. I got really into Hot Rats. So like I know that like Andy's a big Zappa fan too.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
get a lot of
so
vocals of like Dead Kennedys and even some like Talking Heads, David Byrne stuff, some B-52. So it's like
Yep.
I feel like Surge is the top of mind because it's like on the metal. It's like, but like you mentioned, there's Devo. There's a lot of stuff he also like brings
yeah,
into it.
but it's just on that song Bloodlines
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
the delivery, it's a
Yeah.
crazy song, and the music video is crazy as fuck as too. Like, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is way out there. So you guys, you're from LA. You formed a few years ago. Tell us a little bit about the background of how you guys got together.
Want to take a Huda?
Sure. It was all kind of came together through Andy, really. We all like knew Andy from different aspects of it. I've known him for years beforehand. Scott knew him for years. I think Ben bumped into him at parties and everything. And Andy took to Scott and like they were chatting at I forget what like horror movie they were going to, and he's like, "Oh, I've had these songs. I was like thinking about maybe doing something about." Scott's like, "I haven't played drums in a while. I'd love to play." And so they started it up. They were looking for a bass player. I'm like, Andy, like I play bass. Like, all right, cool, let's go. And then we had a show with someone else on keys, but it was a show that Ben was throwing on. Like that was his like he was putting on the show. It's like, yeah, sure, let's have this band play. And then after that, we had like our first show in like July or something of 2015, something like that. And then we needed a permanent synth player. It's like, well, Ben, who we had met at this other thing, he plays synth and keys. Like, okay, let's bring it all together. And it just really was friends and friend groups of like, oh, I know someone who plays, I know someone who plays. And Andy just has like, I always call him the mad scientist. He has this vision. He's like, I just want to put these sounds together. He saw, Cannibal Corpse and Talking Heads, and he just wanted to like mash that together. Like
Yeah, that's
that's
what I was reading. I'm like, yeah, that's an
yeah.
interesting combination because there's some slower songs here,
Mhm.
and then there's some that are straight in your face.
Yeah.
Which songs? I know that you guys released some EPs. Which of the songs have not been released? Because I listened to the whole thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
at least yeah.
So we have oh Ben, you were gonna take it?
No. Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
we did the three EPs and so the first two EPs, I think there's 8 songs total. There are 5 proper songs on this third EP that are new. I mean, that includes Bloodlines and Something Is Wrong, and the full LP and the kind of the full articulation of the whole album also has these 7 interludes that you probably heard as well, which is
Yes,
features of
there's interludes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, and and like that's part of the thing I think we try to do where we're like, the interludes are less meant to be filler and they're more meant to be a continued expression of the way we kind of
Yeah.
see and love the sonic experience. Like we love it
It
when
feels like this is like a theme record or a concept record in
kind of,
some
yeah.
ways.
Florida,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, in a way we always do that. I feel like our Enjoy Yourself was also a concept record, but I think that
Mhm.
I think this is really about like, I mean, we love making art, and I think that I think the thing that we do, which is, not unique to us. I think this is really anybody in a band can probably say some version of this, but it's like, we're working on the record and we're always kind of like, well, what if we did this thing too? And then, yeah, and if we did that, we could also do this thing. And then before you know it, we have 20 songs and 7 interludes, and and it's kind of become a thing where we're just like, we just want to keep creating. So I think the idea with the
Mhm.
interludes was like, we knew that we were already kind of experimenting with this 3 EP thing because, you know, we really just didn't want to wait as long as we did to do the new record. We wanted to be like, all right, we want to put out new music, but we know it just like takes time and we're constantly writing and so we decided to do this 3 EP thing and then you know, we also had each EP was mixed by a different engineer, which kind of gave each album or each EP kind of a little bit of its own flavor. And then so we were
Yeah.
like, how do we want to stitch this all together? And I, you know, I do a lot of electronic music, and then Andy and Scott are also like somewhat involved in that scene. I think different than me, but like Scott like is a tinkerer with sounds. He's also the one who does the music videos. And so we all just kind of started making sounds that we were like, we got to do something with these. And then one of Hoda's best friends is Angela from Shushu, who is just a brilliant artist in her own right. So we kind of had Angela just read these poems that Andy had written. And so again, it just kind of became a fun way for us to express ourselves in like the kind of the theme of Melted Bodies being like, yes, we're really, really heavy music and we always want to be as heavy as possible, but we're never doing it in the way that I think people think of when they think of like metal. You know, we're always kind of doing our own version of what heavy could be, and not really on purpose. It's not like we're trying to change metal. We're just kind of like, I love, you know, heavy Berlin techno as much as I love Cannibal Corpse and Fulci and stuff like that. And like Hoda is the same way, like loves Robin, but also
Yeah.
loves the Idols and Turnstile. And, you know, so we're always
Yeah.
kind of in little bits of that, you know?
Yeah, I think the name of your band, Melted Bodies, it's just great because it's a whole melting pot of a lot of like different things that sometimes on paper you say that shouldn't work.
Totally.
But it totally works with your band. So yeah, it's very unique sounding. And you like this is the type of album that it's very fucking hard to review because it
Yeah.
goes through so like, I'm like, how can I describe this? Like,
Yeah.
it's not an easy album to review because it's all over the place.
Mhm.
And the good thing is like you don't know where it's going. Sometimes
Totally.
even in a same song, it can go from being like I think there's a song called I think it's Thinking right now out of the bat, and it started like almost no, I think it was Liars. It
Oh, yeah.
starts very croony, like alternative, and then all of a sudden it gets like in your face, like, and I'm like, I wasn't expecting that.
Hmm.
Uh, and you have songs like longer songs like The Inevitable Fork, which is like a 7.5 minute track that goes through different type of things. But the interludes, I feel they add like I love the I often feel alone while surrounded by other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because the title is almost as long as the 57 seconds.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. Do you have a like I know that you have two videos you have for Bloodlines and you have for Something Is Wrong,
Mhm.
which is the album Closer, and that music video. Who's the guy with the painted face?
Oh, that's Andy in that.
Oh,
That is Andy,
yeah.
and it's all Scott's ideas. Scott, our drummer, is an amazing like director and has this visionary and can edit amazingly. So he did Bloodlines with some live footage and some cut footage that we had,
Mm.
and then he had this idea for Something Is Wrong of like doing those cuts and like making that uncomfortableness of like something is wrong and we're gonna make you feel very uncomfortable because something is wrong type of vibe to
Yeah,
it.
it's let me
Yeah,
tell you, the music videos are very inventive
yeah.
and and they look pretty cool, but I'm guessing you guys are doing stuff to keep on a budget, but so it looks great. You know why?
Right.
Because there's music videos, like for example, one of the most expensive, I think, music videos ever was that Michael Jackson with Janet Jackson video about
Oh
Scream.
yeah, yeah,
And you
yeah.
know what? It kind of looks like crap.
Yeah.
It didn't age
Yeah.
the best. Technology's gotten better, but that's
No,
why like
I
yeah,
prefer the Thriller music video
of
to
course.
that
Totally.
one because it's
Yeah.
practical effects, and I used to get nightmares when I was a kid with that
Yes.
with
Amazing.
that music video. So yeah, you guys, yeah, you all over the place with the music, and it's like it's unpredictable music. And I was reading that when you guys released in 2020 the album that you enjoy yourself, it got a lot of buzz like in the underground.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I read somewhere that it was called the best 2020 album ever. Like it was so 2020. I'm like, well, that year
Like
was a that was a very weird year.
it
Yep.
it's
Yep.
weird because it's like the timing of the album thematically was perfect, but for us it sucked because we couldn't go on tour and do anything. So like we put out this album because we weren't gonna sit on it, and it's like it's amazing. People are like, I love it. It speaks to me so much. Like it's great. We can't tour.
Yeah,
We
on
can't tour on this.
2020, my album of the year for that year, which is a band that I could see you guys like it would make sense to tour with them, was that Code Orange record.
We
Yes.
love them. They're our friends. Yeah, we
Yeah.
love the Orange people.
Yes. Yeah, because Code Orange is another band that they started
Yep.
as hardcore, but they experiment. Like the last one, it had some. I love Reba and the way she
The Reed's
sings
great.
the alternative things, and I now she's playing with Marilyn Manson, which
No,
is
it's crazy.
pretty cool for her.
I know
So
it's
yeah,
crazy.
when I was listening to you guys, I thought like this and Code Orange would like blend well together. So it's cool to see that you guys are friends.
Yeah, they're fun because they're yeah, I mean you pointed out a cool thing is like, having we know Jamie and Shade in particular, they're people that Andy and I know and they just work hard to find new reasons to get excited about their music, which we love because I think that we're kind of the same way. I mean, we have like whenever we're like listening to drum and bass, you'll start hearing it in Melted Bodies songs, right? And if you're like we're going through a Ministry phase or something, like I remember we all that this is the other thing that's a big part of the band
That's
and
why I
I
said some
which
some songs reminded me of industrial, like
for
Yeah.
old
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
industrial. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we we're all really good friends too. I mean, this is like we all went to Knott's Scary Farm last night, and it wasn't like a band thing. It was like a friend thing. You know what I mean? Like that's what we just like love hanging out, and we all went to Hellfest just for fun a couple of years ago, and I feel like seeing Ministry live there was like a moment that probably started adding a little bit of industrial into Melted Bodies because we all kind of saw it and enjoyed it together. And we'd all been Ministry fans before, but I think it was just one of those things where I think when we all share our lives together, we start pulling in these little touches of the things that we all love together,
You
and that's
absorb bands.
Yes.
yeah, a little bit,
So
yeah.
if you go to the Oasis reunion, are we gonna get like a Wonderwall
You
type
are
of song from you
honestly.
guys?
I mean, Andy is an unbelievable songwriter, and
Yeah.
he's written the whole. I mean,
And he's
he's
got
written the,
a great range, like different,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
like
oh
what
yeah,
he does. It's like really insane.
oh yeah,
Because
yeah,
there's some flashier stuff like with the Mr.
for
Bongo
sure,
type of
for
influence
sure.
for
Mm.
in some songs.
Yeah, and he used to be, I mean, he was in before Melted Bodies, he was in this a pretty, critically important band called Local Natives that is like could not be further from Melted Bodies in terms of like what they do. And they're like a traditional folk band essentially. But he was one of the primary songwriters and is a very, very talented songwriter. So I think that that's kind of what he loves to do is like I think that he pulls in a lot of different things and then we all add a little bit of our touch and we all have a little bit of superpowers that I think we kind of pull in our own unique way. Like, I mean, we always like Hoda's like unbelievable live. Like, I would encourage anybody to see us live, if only just to see Hoda live.
No pressure.
And like, yeah, and I like play around. I like play around with sounds, and I like, I'm really into like sound design and stuff. And then like we all have our own thing, and so I think that that's part of why we like when people are like, I don't really know how to review you. I don't really know what it is. I don't like it when people
I call it like
don't like us,
alternative
honestly.
metal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because there's
Fair.
some
Yeah.
metal elements, but there's some singing to it. Like I tell you, if you guys would have come out in the '90s, that would
yeah,
have been like because I don't I think people are less they accept like stuff like this now less than in the
yeah.
'90s. In the '90s, it
I
was
know.
beautiful. Like one week you would have the Prodigy number
Yeah,
one, then the
totally,
next week it would be the Mighty Bosstones.
Yeah.
Like you
totally,
went from
totally.
ska, you had an electronic, so I don't know, it was great. It was a lot of variation.
You
So
just
Yeah,
talked about my 90s mixtape right there. I'm like, yeah, I
yeah,
had one with both those bands on it. You're right.
oh yeah, no. I love the like I could have the Prodigy, then I would go Sublime, then I even listen to Third Eye Blind.
yeah,
Uh,
of course.
Throw it in
yeah,
there.
it would
Yeah.
be all over the place.
Yeah.
Porn,
Yeah.
Well,
every
yeah, and I
Deftones,
think
which I still love. Yeah.
we always kind of remind people too that I mean, like we're like, there's no reason why you can't be like that. I think that's part of
Mhm.
the frustration sometimes with not even just heavy music. I think at music in general, sometimes you feel like you can't both like Taylor Swift or whatever and the Suicide Boys together. Like they just don't work. And it's like most people like a lot of different kinds of music. And I think that
I like
yeah,
last year. I'm telling you, I was bopping that Olivia Rodrigo record.
Oh
right.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
bangers. Yeah,
I'm like, no, I felt like this is like people weren't noticing, but like you're listening to it's more punk
yeah,
Totally.
than that. What's the name of that dude that I hate? That it's more punk than Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah,
yes,
sure. Okay,
yeah.
totally. Totally.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
It's
like you'll hear Scott, like our drummer Scott, I mean, he will talk as much about like Charlie XCX as he will Fulci, like the
yeah.
death metal band from Italy that he like loves, and like and I think that, in general, I think we're all pretty excited about seeing, when Blood Incantation puts out this record that's like as Pink Floyd as it is death
oh,
metal,
Yeah,
right
we
now I
love that.
think that's
Right?
gonna be my album of the year.
It's
Uh,
amazing. It's an
valid.
amazing,
Yeah,
yeah. And
it's
we
incredible
love
when
that.
they go
Yeah,
into that part that I did an album review and I said my thumbnail said if Pink Floyd made a death metal record, like
totally. Totally. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, and I like those type of records. Those type of records,
totally.
like another band that I don't know you listen to they're very experimental is Oceans of Slumber. Like
I don't
they're
know.
really cool.
Nope.
Uh, Their lead
Right.
singer is amazing. So yeah, there's like bands doing like cool stuff. So I want to show the artwork for the record.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
Cool.
so we can talk about this artwork.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing I saw that they sent me the promo and I saw this artwork. I'm like fuck that that looks disgusting but awesome at the same time.
I
Uh,
think
Tell me a little bit about that. And it's
that is
I'm not a
Andy's
dentist,
brain.
but those gums, uh,
Those are real teeth. Those are real dentures. Those
Yeah.
yes,
are,
they,
yeah,
they
nothing
need
here
some
is
help.
AI.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are real
Andy,
dentures. So tell me how
those are
you
real
got
dentures.
that.
That is all Andy. Andy has this weird obsession with teeth. He's all like, they're just crazy. They're cool. And so he'll just has this vision and he has a really good way of I feel like he can translate our music into sound. Like it's uncomfortable. It's not this like it's not disgusting. It just makes you slightly uncomfortable, but it's still pretty to look at and you're just drawn to it. You're like, what am I looking at? And I want to look deeper in it.
It's a little
And
bit like body horror, right? I mean,
yeah.
that's because you would hear Andy talk about the Enjoy Yourself record and the album cover, and it was like a lot of people would see that, and it was the one that was like it was basically like ground beef look as a head, as like sculpted like a
Yeah,
head,
it
and
kind
and
of
a lot
looks
of
like
people,
a weird blob alien.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I don't like it's like gross album cover," and Andy, and I think rightfully so, Andy's like, "Why? It's the same meat that you get to make a burger. I just shaped it differently." And like I think that's a little bit of the way he thinks about this stuff. He's like,
Yeah.
people are like, "Ooh, gross," like hair and teeth. He'd be like, "Why? There's hair and teeth everywhere. I just made a thing out of it, and now all of a sudden you think it's weird." And that's I think a little bit of what it kind of captures a little bit of the spirit of the band, where it's like, what's so weird about putting Cannibal Corpse and B-52s together? Why are like you like both of those separately? Why are you being weird about us putting it together? And like, and that's I think a cool thing about the way we think about a lot of this
Yeah, no,
stuff. Body here
there's
is
like
part of it.
music like there's this artist called Poppy that I
Yeah,
thought
love
Yes.
Poppy. We love Poppy.
Big
she's
Yeah,
Poppy
like
fan. We love
to
Poppy.
me she's like metal mixed with the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
totally, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, and you can tell she's like that's another one. Like when we talk to our agent and our manager about the bands that we like and we feel kind of a kindredness for, I think sometimes it like we do share a lot of similarities with somebody like System of a Down. I think it's an easy thing, but I think a lot of times we're like, no, get us on the road with Poppy or like, or Viagra Boys or whatever. Like these bands that just kind of feel like you just kind of don't fully understand exactly why they do what they do, and you don't know what the next thing is. I mean, even a band like Deaf Heaven, like we all love Deaf Heaven too, and they're one in a very different way, but they went from like black metal to like beautiful shoegaze, and they've
I
just
love when they mix with the
you know?
shoegaze.
I
Hmm.
know, and it's great, and it just feels fresh, and it feels like, there are some people. I mean, there's a couple journalists we know who are like, no, I don't like their sound. We're just like,
And that
okay, that's
but
okay,
that's it's not for everyone. We're like,
No, it's not. Yeah.
it's like there's
Yeah.
bands that we don't like and people love and it's like cool. That's not
totally.
for me, and that's okay.
Totally.
And we don't expect to be for everyone, and that's okay. It's just give us a
Yeah.
Yeah, I
listen,
know,
make up
but
your
this
own opinion.
album artwork, it does give me like I used to live in the States, and
Cool.
the first time I went to the dentist because I'm here in Puerto Rico, it was after I moved after a hurricane, so I didn't go to the dentist. It had passed a few months because of the hurricane. So when I went to the dentist over there, they're like, oh, your teeth has calculus, and I'm like, I'm like, that's funny. I didn't know my teeth did math. I did them a dad joke. They didn't find it funny. And then they did like a deep clean, and that's horrible. When I left, I felt like they have like just beat the crap out of me. I
Oh,
was like drooling, like oh, like it was horrible. Uh,
Yeah, teeth are
Plus,
crazy.
then I got the bill.
oh my Christ.
Yeah.
But dude, the story you just said is almost like that is like a melted bodies experience, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of gross, it's kind of painful, and then like the like harsh reality of America beats you down a little bit, and then you have a funny story to tell from it, like because Enjoy Yourself, that album was that was like the way I kind of think about these two records together personally, and I don't know how to correct me if you feel otherwise, but like Enjoy Yourself was kind of about the world, and then in the Inevitable Fork is kind of about yourself.
Yeah.
Like it kind of took the anxiety
Yeah,
of like
the
looking at the
the
world
the
on the
title for
inside.
me, the inevitable fork is it sounds like trying to everything's inevitable, like fork in the road. So
Yes.
Exactly.
you have to go like different directions. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
it's like
exactly it. Yeah.
exactly, and we're all like, I mean, we have a couple friends who like, when we do these, sometimes we do some like pretty DIY shows where we're like, hauling our cabs up stairs, and we're still doing that, but we're also later in our 30s and stuff, and there's always kind of like, if you're still doing this now, you must really love it. and
Mhm.
and I think that's a little bit of that fork, right? I mean, we're always in this world in our fork where you can always go live in a nice house, get a nice job, or do the thing you love. And I think the older you get, the more of those forks come, and I think that's kind of what a little bit of the album is about, right? Is like understanding that
Yeah,
you know
the pain and the joy.
yes, the pain and the joy, the decisions we make that then we have to live with or inherit, and I think that's kind of why a lot of people. I'm curious as to when everybody hears the whole thing, is because I think there's a certain part of our crowd who they liked the humor of Enjoy Yourself, which we also love, but like this album is not meant to do the same thing, right? Like we don't want to like, this isn't about making a joke. This is about exploring the different ways by which we express ourselves as people, good and bad, right? And
Yeah.
Enjoy Yourself wasn't all jokes either. I mean, we had some pretty somber songs there too, but I think
No,
that for
you had songs about, I think uh top of you well it cops.
yeah, of course.
Oh.
Well, yeah, and like E-Cops is like
Because
a
Cop Killer was already taken.
yes. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man,
But
it's
yeah,
yeah.
99 cents. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least it's 99 problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, which JC has now.
Yes. I
Yeah, he
mean,
sure
we all,
does.
we all have that.
He,
Yeah.
he's got he's got 99 problems and Diddy is one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, it's all jokes aside. This. Yeah, the music. It's like the type of music that you really gotta listen to it, and there's a lot to take in. So this is not easy listening. If this is an album that you have to pay attention to, and I've like even with all the quirkiness and stuff, I think there's like important messages spread throughout the record. So right now of the songs on this record, like which one is your favorite and why? I'm sure everyone has a different one.
That's tough because
Yeah.
because we put it out as three EPs. I'm like, I can pick one out of each, but do one out of the full record is tricky because there's songs people haven't heard yet that I'm excited to have people hear. Like you asked, like Bloodlines of Something Is Wrong. There's also Wrath of Flies, Splitting, and Talk
Oh
Some
yeah,
More.
that
That's
Wrath
like,
of the Flies, that was is like a Mr. Bungle meets Ministry.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
that's 2 minutes of just getting
Yeah,
pounded.
it's
It's
like in
yeah,
your face.
You know,
Yeah.
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 But like that, I want to see people's reaction. For me, a favorite song is not just like people's reaction, but like playing it live and seeing what
Yeah,
they
Mhm.
give me back. So there's like I might be like, oh, this is my favorite one. They're like, oh, okay, okay, but you play it live and you're just like, okay, it doesn't feel as good. Like I love Think Safe. I love Think Safe so much. But I'm like, it's much more like post punky
yeah, totally.
vibe to it. Then it's like, okay, well, it doesn't really fit in the set, and like maybe we'll play it here and there. We still have to like figure out how to best do it. But it's like, all right, then it's like, what do we like? Like splitting is a lot of fun on the new one. State of Mind, like on the second one, I feel like that that's a very like industrial vibe to it too, and it has like more
Yeah.
90s Nine Inch Nails vibe to it. When I'm like, I like those that aren't as straightforward. Like Wrath of the Flies, Hot Dog Contract, love it. Just hits you in the face. But the ones I feel like that challenges listeners more, that's what I'm more drawn to,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I like The Inevitable Fork is I think one of my favorites. But it was interesting because it kind of grew on me in a weird way. Like we played this show at this really small, it was kind of almost like a practice show for a tour we did with our friends Flagman last year. And we played this little tiny coffee shop kind of thing in Columbus, Ohio. And for some reason, The
Nothing
Inevitable,
against Ohio people.
no, nothing against
Oh no,
Ohio.
he's from Ohio.
I'm from Ohio, so I'm Ohio boy. But it was just it, man. It was like something about that show playing it live. It just felt the most angry and like disturbed that I've ever heard it. Like it kind of it because the thing about that song is it sounds like what Andy I think was going through at the time, which was just a moment of transition, not really knowing where to go and what to do. And you kind of feel that like the world is spinning around you and you don't know how to make it stop. And that what that feels inside, but then how do you convey that outside? And so I don't know, I tend to gravitate towards a lot darker music. I'm kind of maybe the person in the band who's like the most into really, really dark music. And so that one has a lot more of that like chaotic, hard, mean energy that I think that's really cool. And then it settles into such a beautiful, solemn moment.
Yeah,
So
that's a lot. That's the longest track.
I think so. Yeah.
Seven. Yeah,
Yeah.
721. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all, I mean, because it's such a different, there's so many different styles on the album. It is interesting because it kind of changed from day to day. Like there are a couple songs I like don't like as much for whatever reason, but like there are a lot of the songs like Bloodlines, it's a little bit recency bias, but like that's one of my favorite because it's so heavy, so intense. And then like, Splitting has got its own weird thing where it's just like that's like my wife, like that's like one of her least favorite songs because it's so intense. Like she just thinks it's so mean. I don't know what she does.
So is your wife not into metal?
No, she's not. She's like, I think
No. My
she'll look.
girlfriend
Yeah,
either. My
yeah,
girlfriend, it's funny. My girlfriend calls my music. She's like, when I put something, she's like, is it too rah rah? So for her, rah rah is like it's too loud. So
yeah,
I would describe, yeah, this album is very rah rah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a pretty intense
you
song.
wouldn't like it, but she lets me. She's like, oh no, you do your thing. You love that music. So it's funny because yeah, there's a lot of people that say like, no, you need to get married or someone to listen to the same music. That's gonna be hard.
Oh man,
Well,
no
because
way, dude. No. It's helpful to have other people.
yeah, I feel like that expands you if you're just like in this chamber of like people only listening to it's just like anything else. If you're only around people that just like your same stuff and listen to the same stuff and have the same opinions, there's no growth, there's no change. So
Oh
like
yeah,
all of us who pull little stuff like me who I love my like pop and like punk and
yeah.
like stuff and then Ben who likes his like black metal and everything us
Totally.
listening to it to each other it's like oh I'd never listened to that and I'm like oh that's interesting that's fun and like it makes me grow as a musician the same thing like we'll have debates about like pop music and its importance in culture and it's like oh I didn't think of it that way it's like I can see how that like translates and actually does impact some metal stuff it's like it's great like I
Totally.
yeah that's why it's like yeah
Oh
your music
my,
could be as long as you're around people who like music and live music from like that's fine let's just have a conversation.
that's true. Yeah, my first day with her, we had
Yeah.
a debate about how she thought that the Beatles are kind of overrated. And I'm like,
Oh,
That's
man,
that's a
I
great
can
debate to
I,
have.
yeah, and I could see it. I'm like, yeah, a lot of people, and they're great. They revolutionize music, but
Mhm.
sometimes, yeah, they're a little bit overrated. And
Yeah,
like
like
when
there might be other stuff. It's like, yeah, you think about that, but what about these bands that no one really talks about?
yeah,
Like the Kinks were doing something cool too, like all this other
yeah,
stuff. It's like, oh
it would have
yeah,
been
yeah,
a deal breaker if she would have said something about the Smashing Pumpkins. I'm like, do not touch my Billy Corgan. I have a love-hate relationship with Smashing Pumpkins because
fair.
sometimes they release albums that I love, and sometimes he does something that I'm like, Billy, why are you doing this to me? Like when he released last year that where he said, this is a rock opera. I'm like, oh no, he's calling it a
oh,
rock opera. Like nobody like, but actually this year he was smart. He released an album. Like he's like, there's a new album in 2 weeks, and you know what? It was good.
Yeah,
great, great.
Yeah,
don't
so
overthink it.
just don't overhype it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that would have been a deal breaker. That's what, like one of my favorite bands. And I'm like ride or die. Even if they put out something that I don't like it, I'm still a fan.
That's
Hmm.
that's that's I mean that's a little bit of the theme we'll be talking about though, right? Like it's like Billy's got an idea, he's like, whatever, I'm gonna experiment with
Yeah.
this thing, and
He
then people
was on the
respect
last
him.
Code Orange record.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
crazy, right? That was that wild.
when like when I'm like, oh, you got me when they said Billy, and I'm like, I would have been like, oh my God, it was huge that he did a song for Code Orange,
Yeah,
Hmm.
uh,
totally.
and the part where
Yeah.
he comes in is the best part of the song
Oh yeah.
to me. Yeah,
You
so
may be a little biased.
I may be biased, yeah, yeah, but yeah. So like talking music, like for example, Houda, like how, like which bass players got you into the instrument?
Oh, there is the Swedish band, the International Noise Conspiracy. That I forget is I'm terrible with names. That bass player is just insanely sick. It's just like a jazz bass player that plays punk. Has a great
Nice.
time. Um, being a '90s kid, Tony Kanal from No Doubt, like his bass riffs just kill it. Like you can't deny that skill, no matter
Oh
what.
my
And listen
my
to a
God,
lot of
yeah, it's good that you
yeah,
mentioned Tony Canal from No
he's a
Doubt because everyone
spectacular bass
mentions
player.
Gwen and his bass play. You know what? I've said it on many videos.
Mhm.
When without No Doubt sucks.
Yeah. They
Interesting.
know how to write songs. Like his
Yeah.
bass playing is the melody. It's more driving than like the guitar part. I mean, no offense to the guitarist, but like it's it does more of the work for sure. And then I just like high school also like a mixture of like yeah Tony Canal and No Doubt, and then Operation Ivy just like ripping it. I'm like yeah that's yeah. So it's like it's there's a ska background just for like skill wise and everything, but when it comes to like just aggression, it's like Operation Ivy, Minor Threat, that type of just like Dead Kennedys, just like that gritty punk scene got me too. I'm like, there's a mix of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good mix. Good
I don't
mix.
think I've ever heard this conversation from you, Hoda. This is actually
We've
kind of
never had this
cool. To
conversation.
hear your
I'll
like
pull up
origin
all these
story.
songs. International No Conspiracy. That guy's sick. That guy's like this big. He's as tall as the bass, and he's just like
Yeah. That's
ripping
the
it.
good things about these interviews to come out stuff that doesn't usually come out.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I gotta learn their names. I always blank on names. I'm like, I know Tony's, and then I gotta remember the other names for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about
Yeah.
you, man? Ben?
Hmm. I mean, let's see. I got really into I mean, there's a couple like big techno type people. Like my dad was really into Pink Floyd, and when I think I was starting, I grew up as a drummer actually. And I basically my story is I was as I was moving across the country because I'm from Ohio or the Ohio West Virginia border. Drums were just like hard to take with me, so I kind of just started going into computers,
The
and
poor drummers, I feel bad
so
on
brutal,
every
man.
gig
So
because the
brutal.
guitar player, it's easy to pick up, but the drummer
Yeah, it's a
fucking
lot, man. A
sucks.
lot of work. Yeah. So I was playing drums, and then I just started getting more and more into like kind of electronic music, and I think I started like I would listen to Dark Side of the Moon, and I'd be like, how are they doing that? And then all of a sudden it became like I got really into like the Alan Parsons Project for a minute, and then And then I just started getting into like dance music. I started getting into like proper techno and stuff, and a lot of the French scene, so like Justice and Gesaffelstein and like and folks like that. And so, and they're actually probably my favorite band of that world, if a band is a kind of a loose term, but Simian Mobile Disco, this British pair, like they were really influential to me because I remember seeing them live, and they were, you know, I think with a lot of synth people, it's kind of like what are they doing up there is a little bit of the way you get
Hmm.
into it. You know, you see like you see keyboards and buttons and you're kind of like, what, how are they making those sounds? What is that? Right. And then that started kind of pulling me in. So I'd say Simeon specifically was a really, really big one for me. And then I think, you know, metal and synth, I actually think as a bit of a complicated relationship because there's a lot of metal with synths that I find so corny. But like I'm a Children of Bodom fan. I love Children of Bodom, but I don't like the way their synths work. Like, because I'm a lot more like I
Yeah, I
like
remember. Yeah,
Alex.
it really tore out like a sore thumb when they
Yeah,
rest in
totally.
peace, Alexei.
I
But yeah.
know. Like because they're one of my favorite bands. I was like a
Mm.
humongous Children of Bodom fan, but it was like it was never because of that. It was because I like loved the way the guitar worked and how brutal he was and whatever. And so I think I wrestle with this sometimes with us, and I think it's gotten a lot. Like I really like how a lot of the synth came together on this record because a lot of it was about developing sounds that then reinforced the feeling that was the lyrics were about and the tones were about with the guitar and bass. And so I think a lot of the stuff I'm into now is like, you know, you hear like Tangerine Dream a little bit. Like there's a band called The Body that we all love. And like they did an album with this producer named the Hacks and Cloaks, this guy named Bobby Krillick, who's a friend of ours. And he that like it just it the way the delays work and the way that the reverb works is you just feel haunted through the whole thing. And I think that that's kind of the thing is like how do we like whenever we do like Liars is a good version of this where the beginning of Liars kind of
Hmm.
sounds like a combination of like an anime theme song or like a sports anthem, and we did that on
Yeah.
purpose. You're kind of like, okay, what are the sounds that are going to really make it feel like that, and, you know, and that's like a lot of the cool part about doing the synth and shit in the band is like you're really always being like, oh well, Andy's really into Brian Eno right now, and Brian Eno used the DX7 on this one record. So like, how do I use the DX7 to be able to get the Melted Bodies thing while referencing Brian? You know, like that's a little bit of the stuff we're trying to do all the time. So
Awesome. So the album's gonna be out soon, the 18th.
yeah,
Where can people pre-order the album?
We can do it through both our Shopify and our Bandcamp. So those will have the Shopify and Bandcamp will have both the vinyls. So there'll be a double vinyl that we'll put out on the Bandcamp. You can also get a digital download for it.
yep,
And that would have all songs in order with the interludes, like the whole story. We're gonna have on our streaming services, on the streaming services, it'll have EP number 3, but we wanted to really make the full album exclusive to places where you can kind of support the band in a way, because we all know the streaming services, we don't see a penny from them, but
Mm,
we still want to.
no.
That's a conversation for a whole different interview.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
yeah, so we still wanted to make it available
Damn
for everyone to
you,
listen.
Spotify CEO.
I
Yeah,
know,
seriously.
crazy,
So we
yeah,
Yeah,
still
where he
want to
says
make it
like
available for people to listen.
creating music is cheap. You can fuck off.
No.
Like
uh,
even
I,
what I'm doing, you know, I have to buy lighting shit
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. So it's going to be
I have
available
to
to
have a
listen.
microphone and stuff.
Where are you based? Are you based in you're from you live
I,
in Mexico?
I used to be in a hellhole called Miami, but thankfully I came back to Puerto Rico.
All
Oh, you're Puerto
right.
Rico. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
You're in
yeah.
like San Juan proper?
I'm in the San Juan area.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
But I'm not going to give my exact address.
No.
No, don't
So
do
if
that.
I give
Don't
a
do
bad
that.
review, people will know where to find
Yeah,
me
there
and
you
kill
go.
me.
Well, we were just saying we want to find a way for wherever you are to be able to get the record because you know we
Yeah.
ship them all over, but we're always because we're an independent band, like we're always looking for like record stores people love, and we'll be like, cool, like we'll hit them up and see if we can get them like 5 copies or whatever, you know. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a few stores in Puerto Rico. There's that sell records, but very small.
yeah, cool.
Like
Mm.
there's one called I think Oye Records, and there's another one that the name escapes me right now, but it's pretty cool. Plus we have some independent because people think Puerto Rico and they think it's just like reggaeton or something, but
Yeah.
we have a metal scene down here with
Oh
different
yeah,
types of bands. They don't get played on the radio, but
of course.
I've talked about I interviewed them here and we talked
Amazing.
about them. So yeah, it's all about independent music. People, that you do it because you love the music.
Yeah.
It's from the heart, and I'm glad to talk to independent artists so people can get the word out there and know more about your music.
Well,
Appreciate
hopefully
that.
we can always
Definitely.
share that too. The more that we, like I mean, you can probably tell that we love music, we love talking music, and we love our band, but we also like if you go, man, I have this Puerto Rican metal band that you'll love, we'd be like, send it over, I want to hear them. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. So like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah,
all
no,
about sharing, man.
yeah, there's some cool bands down here, like different type of styles. So and they're bringing bands. Some of the people in bands are promoters as well, so they bring smaller bands because the main media here does not support it. For example,
Yeah.
I talked recently to Josean Horta. He's the drummer from the band Fit for an Autopsy, and
Oh, wow.
he's from Puerto Rico.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
So yeah, he's never been interviewed by any media like big media here in Puerto Rico because
Crazy.
they don't care.
yeah.
Oh,
But
I
man.
yeah,
think that's hearing that. It's like it's what we're going through in LA. I feel like anything of the heavier and more aggressive music, be it punk or metal or anything in between or beyond, like it is truly about community and helping each other out because we know mainstream media is not going to cover us. Like we know it's like no, going to your friend's show means so much. Like buying a t-shirt means so much to them because it is like if we don't support each other, it's just going to fizzle away. The scene's going to go away. So it's like it's so important for, like you mentioned, bands being promoters and bringing others. It just encourages people to continue to make music and like even just like generations after us and everything. So it's really nice to hear that like everywhere has that.
yeah, and I've said it on another video here, like people, oh, how many Grammys? The Grammys suck.
Yeah.
like
Oh,
The
like
Grammys are rigged. The Grammys are
they
buddies
just give to
patting
the
each other in the
popular.
back. People
But you
live.
know
Well,
what?
again,
They
for another
even they're
interview, we
bad
can
with
talk
the
about that.
metal because I saw a few years ago when Ghost was in the red carpet and she was asking like, "What are you wearing?" And the guy from Ghost totally trolled her.
Yeah.
It was I love Ghost. I know that
Mhm.
some
Ghost
people
is
say,
great.
"Oh, they're not metal enough," but I think the guy's brilliant. Like
No,
he
I
mixes.
actually like Go. I know it's a little bit of a controversial
You know
topic, but
what?
I also
Because he
like
mix
Ghost. Yeah,
blue. He can mix like Blue Oyster Cult with ABBA
totally.
because
Mhm.
when you hear some of this, like like it has got like some ABBA qualities to them, and I saw them live, and they were amazing. I'm like they put
Believe
on
it.
an amazing rock show. They got great musicians. So yeah, and no, yeah, in the Grammys, no, I've seen like they sometimes they interview some people. Like I remember what I saw one for like for the interview like Robert Smith from The Cure. Obviously, The Cure is not metal, but she's like, "Are you excited?" And he was like,
Like I hate this stuff, but okay,
"Yeah."
I'll put on my
Even the
eyeliner.
Deftones, who are a big, well-known band,
Yeah.
they they talk to them like they were like some bums from the street. And I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
that band has put out some amazing records, and yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like
Oh, and
God
like
fund them.
Man.
when Megadeth won, and they
Yeah.
played Metallica, which I'm sure
It's so
he must
dumb.
have been so pissed.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
for sure. I'm like, they're not clever enough to troll Dave Mustaine. They're
No.
not.
Yeah. But it's good to, the album, is pretty cool. I'm going to try to review the album for the channel the best as I can because
Okay.
it's not an easy album to review, but I have the comparison. So,
All right.
yeah,
No,
yeah, but
we trust you, man. And
yeah.
we're not, if you give us a 0 out of 10, so
No,
be it.
no, no. Actually, on my reviews, I don't do numbers. I
Good.
just say
Good.
what I think of the
Yeah.
tracks. But there's a show I have called "Is It That Bad?" where we talk about albums that got like bad reviews, and
Yeah, sure.
everyone rates
Mhm.
it at the end like thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs
Mhm.
sideways. But yeah, no. But when I do like album reviews, like I'll say like, hey, I didn't like this, but I don't do a rating system.
Cool.
I just talk about music here in the
Love it.
couch. So yeah, so do you now that the album is out, are you gonna have like a show around the release?
Take
Yeah.
it, Ben.
Yeah, we're doing so I am a huge wrestling fan. I'm a huge wrestling fan. And LA has one of the coolest wrestling promotions in the world as far as I'm concerned. It's called Circle Six. And so we've been going to Circle Six stuff for a while. So we're actually doing a show with Circle Six for our album release on November 9th, right, Hoda? Is that the date?
Yes. Yep.
And
Nice.
it's like a wrestling meets Melted Bodies show. So it's gonna be
That's gonna
fun.
be that's gonna
It's
be
gonna be
fun.
Yes, it's gonna
Yeah.
be fun. It's gonna be interesting, and it's also gonna be like feels very us, you know. So
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing that with some of our wrestling friends and just trying to create a chaotic night for anybody who wants to be there. And then hopefully we'll be able to take it on the road a bit too, because the guy
Yeah.
who our good
Yeah.
friend, shout out JB over at Circle Six and Slingshot, they do a lot of cool events around the country and they got a lot of buzz. So I think hopefully we're gonna be able to do some more with some of those guys.
Yep.
Now that you mentioned wrestling, like years ago, I think in like 10, 15 years ago, I went like my sister had these friends that they were like huge wrestling fanatics. So you uh you went to their house and they did like a
Yeah.
wrestling thing
Oh,
in their backyard, and people
Hell,
paid $5 to get
yeah.
in. And it was
but
like interesting. And I know you mentioned, I'm like, I remember that being like, what the hell am I going to? There was no
yeah.
music, but yeah,
Wrestling, I think wrestling has it's especially in LA. Has a reputation for music, right? Where a lot of people stand around. A lot of bands don't like playing LA because it's just like people are a little too concerned with how they look, not what the music feels like and whatever. And so
I blame Motley Crue.
we'll blame Motley. That's not a bad blame, but
No, we
because
can blame Motley Crue for everything. I'm good with
in
that.
the wrestling thing is
Yeah,
so interesting because I think
their last
wrestling.
EP sucks.
What?
Their last EP, Motley
Oh, I'm
Crue,
sure. I
is
can't
just,
imagine they're trying to make good music right now, but who
oh,
knows?
please retire for the love of God.
But yeah, but we like the energy. We just like energy where people can have fun and be free. And I think that, LA's got a great scene for certain things. And I think that wrestling, for whatever reason, is in my opinion, kind of the top of the chart for that. So
So cool. So you're going to be playing while people are wrestling. Yeah, that's the 90s. In
hopefully,
the
yeah.
90s, with the
We'll
Warp
figure
Tour,
it
it
out.
would be people playing and people riding
Yeah.
skateboards
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
totally.
doing stuff like that. I think they did one here in Puerto Rico where it was like bands and surfing.
Hell
Amazing.
yeah.
And I just
Amazing.
think it's good when you mix two stuff like sports
Of
with music,
course.
because sometimes people think like if you're into sports, you're not into music. I'm like saying like, why can't you be into both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're also big sports people, so we're definitely down with that. We do not feel shy about the things we like. That's part
We
of the
don't.
yeah.
We're very much there's no guilty pleasure. It's like
No,
if
that's
you're
good.
enjoying it, you shouldn't feel guilty about it. It's like, yeah,
Just don't do anything with Logan Paul.
no.
No, not yet.
No,
We'll see how
I
big
hate
Ben's like,
him.
just wait.
we'll see
I'll
how
get in
big
the
we
ring
get.
with him.
He's living in Puerto Rico just to not pay taxes.
That sounds
Uh,
right. That sounds
yeah,
correct.
and then he
He
goes,
loves
he's like, I love Puerto Rico. I'm like, no, you don't.
No, you don't. You love not paying taxes.
Yeah, but it's oh, where did Ben go? I'm like,
Oh, he
so
just went
yeah.
to
All right, my dog was losing her mind. I had to go.
Ah, no worries, no worries.
Yeah,
So before I let you guys go, anything you like to say to the viewers who will be watching this?
what do you think,
um
Hoda?
man. I don't know, just keep yourself open
Yeah,
to different things. Like just because it's not what you typically listen to doesn't mean you're not going to like it.
yeah,
So, give it a listen, give it a go, make your own opinion, and if you don't like it, that's okay. And
that's
that's
great.
it.
And I'd say support bands you like in
Yep.
whatever way you can. It's hard out there. Everybody needs, if you want the art that you love to keep being made, buy their merch, even if you're not going to wear the shirt. Buy a record because you want them to keep playing. Like, not even just
Why
us,
wouldn't you
by
wear the
whoever.
shirt?
What's that?
Why wouldn't you wear the shirt?
Who knows? Because it's pink and you only wear green. I don't know. Could be
No,
anything. Yeah.
actually, I've been that dude at a metal show with a red shirt.
Hell
And
yeah.
it was fun. Everyone's with a black shirt, and I
Yep.
had a Deftones white pony shirt, and it was red. And I bought it
Cool.
for that same reason because it was a
Yeah.
different
Great.
color.
Yeah.
Great. Amazing. Yeah, the more you support artists you like, the better. You know, we none of us can keep doing music on Spotify alone. You know what I mean? So like that's support your local band. That's
Yeah.
my thing advice.
Hmm.
Awesome. So,
Yeah, of
I want to thank both of you, for taking time of your
course,
afternoon
man.
to chatting with me about, melted bodies. So if you like experimental or avant-garde alternative metal that go like there's industrial, there's thrash, there's alternative, there's electronic, you name it, all into a melting pot. Then listen to Melting Bodies, the album, The Inevitable Fork, out everywhere the 18th of October. I'll put the link for the Bandcamp for people who want to buy it. So until next time, Couchers, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.